Hi, it's Tony Robbins. Welcome back. We're here for our e-course on business breakthroughs. How do you create geometric growth in your business even in turbulent economic times? How do you succeed even when the market seems to be tightening? Well, today's session is another session on marketing, another insight on marketing, because as we've talked about several times here, innovation and marketing are the two cores that make a business go. If you market something but you're not innovating, you're not creating a product or a service that's better and adds more value to your client or customer than anybody else is offering, then the marketing gets stale and old because the word of mouth today spreads so quickly through social media. So you have to be innovating, you have to add the value. But if you add the value and you're not effective at marketing, then you're not getting people to want to do business with you. And you can't, people get so busy today, you might have a great product or service they get excited about and they get distracted by 8 million things, something buzzing in their pocket, someone coming up to them. Whatever the situation may be, the world's going in a different tempo. So the question I start with, if marketing is the edge, and I'm sure you've dealt with people where you had a better product, a better service, but you didn't have better sales. And the reason is because your marketing was inferior. Not your product or service, just your marketing. And we want to rectify that. Well, in this brief session, what we can do is first let's look at the reality of marketing. Let's look at how you can get a competitive edge, even if you don't have a lot of money. If you do, that's wonderful. But if you don't, there's an equalizer that's available because of technology today and because of the way the human brain functions. Let me explain. First, a question. Would you say that marketing today has gotten easier or harder? What would you say overall, if you had to generalize? Is it easier to market today or harder? Now, when I ask a large audience this, I get people on both sides of the table because it's truly both. It's easier in that there are more avenues and it's cheaper. I mean, with the advent of online marketing, with all the types of ways you can reach people today with social networks, I mean, truly, if you've got something amazing, you can create a song in Korea that's just a funny, silly song and you can get 1 billion people to watch it with no marketing budget. That's never happened in the history of the planet. You had to sell some organization who had to filter through you and decide to open up their network and plant your message out there, and you had to pay a giant toll for it. Today, the toll is added value, which added value can be humor or laughter or interest or something that gives people a solution they don't know, or just authenticity or rawness or so many things. Sincerity, insight, strategy, intelligence, creativity. That's the price of admission. And here's the cool thing. You've got some of those things if you deliver them. So that's the truth. Marketing truly is easier, but it's also harder. And it's harder because there's so much marketing going on today. I mean, where do you find marketing today? It's on a banana. It's on people's bums. There's the name of a brand there today. I mean, you can't look anywhere without seeing it. In fact, when you go online, what's happening all around you? All this marketing. But the crazy thing is, how much of it do you even notice anymore? Advertisers spending more money trying to get in front of you in this, quote, information age, but they fail to realize it's really an attention age. Today, we have too much information. Today, we're drowning in information and we're starving for wisdom. We're starving for something that's going to add real value to our life at some level. And all the marketing just gets a good portion of it filtered out. Unless they shock us, unless they make us laugh, unless they do something that often doesn't really have anything to do with the product itself. I mean, here's an interesting statistic. Do you know what the average number of exposures a person needed to have before they would initiate some form of buying behavior 15 years ago? Number's 4. On average, 4 exposures was enough to create a stacking effect that if the person was interested in that area and they were going to consider buying, they might take another buying step, go to a store, have a conversation, call somebody on the phone, something of that nature. Today, how many exposures do you think you need on average before people start a buying behavior? The answer is 16. 16. That makes marketing unbelievably difficult and expensive, and especially in a world where everyone is throwing something at you all the time. It's buzzing in your pocket, somebody's texting you, tweeting you, emailing you every now and then, which most people don't even answer or look at anymore. It's coming at us continuously. So how do you break out of it? Well, some companies can do it with just brute force and economics. I'll give you an example. Nike reached out to me not long ago, last year, and they said, listen, we'd love to have you be in one of our commercials. And I said, look, I appreciate very much the opportunity, but I don't do those things. I said, listen, I do these silly infomercials for a decade and a half, and I didn't do them because I wanted to. It was just, in my business, there was no way to reach the masses. So I had to use a distribution channel. Unfortunately, by getting presence in the United States and top business leaders and athletes to go on and donate their time and say, Tony's the real thing, it helped build my brand. But being in a bunch of ads is not a good thing for me, and I really appreciate your offer. And they said, no, you got to hear us out. This is totally different. You're going to love this. And I said, okay, I'm listening. They said, this is going to be an ad that's tongue-in-cheek. It's for Kobe Bryant. We're going to sell his new shoes. And the way we're going to sell it is we're going to bring in the people that are the best in the world at what they do. We're going to bring in Richard Branson, Serena Williams, Kanye West, Kobe, and you, because you're the best in the world at what you do. And Kanye is going to pretend he's you, and he's going to be lecturing to these people that are the ultimate people in the world, and he's going to be the peak performance guy showing them how to become more successful in their life. And it's all tongue-in-cheek, and you'll be one of the people he's lecturing to. It's all the best people in the world, you being the best, and we couldn't replace you. So appeal to man's ego, and suddenly there's an interest. Right? So I said, really? I said, you're really going to get Serena Williams, you're going to get Richard Branson. I said, look, these are a couple of my friends. They go, oh yeah, they're agreeing to do it. So I called Richard because we were trying to set up a meeting recently, and he was over in London, and I was in the United States. And so, you really coming for this? He said, yeah. I said, well, let's meet in LA and we'll do the commercial together. I said, great. So I fly in, we do this commercial, and it's wild. I mean, to put all those people in the room and do all these commercials, the amount of money they spent, and here's the question. What has this all got to do with shoes? That's a real question. But maybe what I should ask you first is watch and tell me, what do you think? What's the experience? Here's the ad. Here's one of them anyway. We shot several. You're welcome. I mean, I don't even know if it's that funny, but it's just stupid and silly. And, watching Richard Branson saying, I control space, I do. And, Kanye West says, what if you're really successful? I mean, this is designed to do what? Just to kind of break your pattern and make you watch the screen, maybe get you to smile, maybe to just get you to take your attention from everything else and focus on these shoes for a moment. But the truth is, what has this got to do with the difference between this shoe and an Adidas shoe? Not a whole lot. And they're acknowledging that. They're just saying, listen, buy our shoes because we're going to make you have fun. Buy our shoes because we can make you smile. Buy our shoes because it's cool. That's what they did. So obviously I participated because I want to be with these cool people. I don't know how cool I am, but certainly got to be in some good company. So it was good marketing for me. But the point is, most people don't have that kind of money. Most people don't have that kind of arm wrestling to get all those people in the same room, even with the money and the time, is not an easy task. You're not going to be able to do that. So how do you and I compete before we're a brand? How do you start to build? Or if you're a brand, how do you take big market share if you're a larger company? I believe the way you got to do that is you really have to hone in on what I call, what is your X factor? What is your competitive advantage? What do you do better for other people than anybody else is doing? And many people in an organization have a totally different view of what their X factor is. And so it's very hard to have your marketing communicate a unified message that makes people think of you and immediately get a gut level response of what that is. So for example, if I said companies like Apple, one of my favorite companies personally, most people ask people, what do you think of Apple? I'd say, make a sound of Microsoft. And you hear this, what do you feel about Microsoft? Just to make it just an internal sound, external sound of what that feels like. And you don't get very happy sounds. So I say, think of Apple, make the sound of Apple. Without any leading people, make these cheering sounds. That's a difference in marketing. The X factor they have is cool, right? They have the best stuff. It's fun, it's cool, it's hip, it's the best, it's now. And so people associate that, that's what they buy. If I said Walmart, you don't usually think cool or the best, but you do think cheapest, right? Best prices. And so they own that marketplace. If I say Louis Vuitton, what do you think? Cheapest purse? Utilitarian? Fundamentally, efficient? No, it's about status. So great brands have something associated. Mine has been breakthroughs, change, improvement, progress. Progress is everything. You're not making progress, I don't care who you are, you're not happy in your life. Progress, change, breakthroughs, improvements, that's what my life is about. So everybody's got certain things associated to their brand, and what you've got to do is decide what is it you want to own. What is it that's going to set you apart from anybody else, even if you're brand new? And you might say, Tony, well, how am I going to compete with these big companies that already own, a brand linkage, a brand emotion? Well, some companies have done it by creating an irresistible offer. Companies like, Zappos came up with just a brilliant, brilliant offer. I mean, think about it. Tony Hsieh is a friend of mine. It's a guy that took over a company in the early days, and everybody says, this is the dumbest idea in the world. You're going to sell women, that's what it was originally, women's shoes on the web. Inherently, that's insane. It's not going to work because women don't want to try on the shoes, and they don't always fit right, and what's going to go on? And so Tony came out with an extraordinary offer, and I always talk about this. I talked about it in an earlier session. You've got to come up with an irresistible offer. That's what can change your company faster than anything else. And his irresistible offer was, we have all the best shoes in the world. If we don't have them, we'll get them for you. Even if we don't make money on it, we'll direct you to the very best place. But any shoes we have, we'll send them to you and we'll pay the shipping. And if you don't like it, we'll pay the shipping back. You have zero risk to try as many shoes as you want and there's no limit. Now, some of the investors had to be saying, are you kidding me? I mean, you imagine how many shoes women could send back and forth, eat up all the profit of the whole company. It was a large bet. But he came up with an offer that turned that company into a company that was barely surviving into a $1 billion industry in less than 10 years. Then sold them to Amazon and stayed on board to help continue to lead this direction of the company into its next generation, into its next time, its next innovation, where he went from just ladies' shoes to anything quality, male or female, that's available in the various areas of clothing, belts, shirts, you name it, not furniture, but I guess purses, wallets, you name it. You go to that place, and at Zappos, it's really about making people happy. They decided our job is to make people happy. Whatever makes them happy, that's what we're going to do. And that's what made that company go. How they go from nothing to something great, incredible offer, incredible added value. They took a risk, and they hit a home run, to say the least. But at its core, what can I give you right now? Well, I could say to you, besides an irresistible offer, what you really need to understand is the power of becoming an expert, the power of knowing more about your client and what they need than anybody else does. Because most people today associate to marketing being interrupted, right? You know, marketing doesn't add value to most people. But if you can find a way to do what we call VAM, or value-added marketing, where when you market to them, you're giving people insights or information or value, and you're not asking for something in return. You keep adding value, and then you make an offer to somebody. They know you're the real thing. All of a sudden, you know, oftentimes big companies don't add much value. They just cram things down people's throats, but they don't find a way to do things for their client or customer that truly the customer says, this person really knows my business, or they really know my needs, or wow, look what all these things they've done for me. Of course I want to do business with them. I'm going to put my money with somebody. Why not do it with a company that really knows more, cares more, delivers more value for me? And one of the easiest ways to do that is to think differently than your competition. Don't do what everybody else does. I'll give you an example. There's a term I coined about 30 years ago. I called it pre-framing. I was studying what's called neuro-linguistic programming. Neuro is the nervous system, linguistics is language, and programming is how we become conditioned to think, feel, or behave. And I was studying this NLP, and they were teaching this thing called reframing. Like how, once somebody has an opinion or a feeling or an emotion or a belief about something, how do you change that? You know, how do you shift that? It's not easy to do. Once people decide who you are or what you're about, it's pretty hard to change. Once somebody believes something about a candidate, for example, in politics, and they run 1 million ads, the research shows that you have very little impact. People decide what they believe, and once they believe it, it's pretty hard to shake them loose of that. If they believe in the candidate, even if they find out terrible stuff, they usually stay by him. If they don't believe in the candidate, they find out good stuff, they say, it doesn't really matter. It's the nature of human beings because we want certainty. So the most powerful thing I think we can do is not reframe people, but a term I came up with 30 years ago, I said pre-frame them. Pre-framing someone means teach them what to notice and what it's going to mean when they notice it in advance before they come up with an opinion. Let me give you a simple example. If you develop a core story is our shorthand term for, when we work with clients, figuring out what is your X factor and how do we communicate that in a way that causes people to stop, think, and take you in. Instead of just shutting you off as marketing, they start to see, wait a second, this individual or this company or this person or this expert really has something unique here. To do that, you can't just throw a bunch of things at people. You've got to share with people a stacking of things that you do of value for them. And if you know more about them than anybody else, again, you can add more value. I'll give you a simplest example of the furniture company I worked with. Let's say you walk in this furniture company, and when you walk into a company to buy furniture, you walk into the showroom, what usually happens? Same thing if you go to a car company or any place else. A salesman will approach you and say, can I help you? And what's the first response that most people have built into their automatic nervous system? No, I'm just looking. Well, obviously, you're here, you're looking for something. But now if you try to turn that around, you have to reframe them to re-engage them. You have to try and say, well, let me help you still. And that feels like you're not listening to me now. Better to influence somebody before they give you some form of objection, to pre-frame them. And better to do it by having an overall story of what you're about, not just trying to sell them an item. So an example of this is you might come into a store we worked with, and you come in and they walk up to you and they say, hi, I'm so-and-so. Have you been in the store before? They don't say, can I help you? Have you been in the store before? If you say yes, they say, oh, well, you must know. And if you say no, they say, well, let me share with you just for a second. We've been in business, and this is what they'll say. We've been in business 27 years. We're a family-owned organization. We have the largest supply in the state. and we will not be beaten on price. But more importantly, we give you a lifetime guarantee on any furniture we have. If it breaks, we'll come out to your house, we'll fix it on the spot, or we'll bring it at our expense and give you a piece of furniture to replace it while we're fixing it. And we give same-day delivery. If you pick something today, we'll deliver it for you today if you'd like. So now, tell me, what are you looking for? Now, what did you just accomplish? Rather than saying, no, I'm just looking, or wandering around, or what price range you're looking at, or what kind of furniture you're looking at, I've done something much more strategic. I've given you a core story. I've pre-framed you about what we're really about. I've given you an identity. I've branded myself with you truthfully and honestly, right here, right now, before anything else. We've been in business 27 years. We're family owned. We have the largest supply. We won't be beaten on price. We'll match any price. We repair things or we replace them. Lifetime guarantee, and we'll deliver today. If the person walks around now and they don't find what they want, what are the chances of them still wanting to buy something from you or saying, could you get this for me? They're increased about tenfold over just, what are you looking for? What's your price range? What's going to go? That's the typical sales/marketing version that people utilize. You want to change that game. That same story would be told in your advertising and your marketing, by your salespeople, by anybody that represents you online. So you need to come up with what is your core story. Another simplistic example I can give you is working with doctors. We had an ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat doctor, and he was trying to build his business. And for a doctor, he wants to serve people, but he still has to work today to build his business. And most doctors don't have that skill set. So he knew that he had very little money for being able to market himself in some way. It just didn't make sense. The only marketing that made sense was getting doctors to refer you. So you might spend some time to get a doctor's attention and say, look, I'm your best ENT guy in the area, and refer me some business. And the approach he had was very limited, and very quickly he found that it produced very lousy results. Now the opportunity here is a referral costs you how much? Zero. If they send somebody to you, they're already being influenced. They're being marketed by somebody who already has their trust and saying, this is the best expert in the area. They're doing the marketing for you, and you spent no money. So the profitability for anyone in any business, when you can do referral business, is incredibly valuable. But most people don't do it well. So we said to him, you need a core story. Instead of I'm your ENT guy in the area, no people understand that. You understand, people respond to opportunity and they respond to pain. I said, how many people do you know, your ENT area is an area that has, as I understand it, we have a firm, by the way, that does research for companies to figure out what should your core story be. What's the research? What are the facts that are going to get people's attention? So you're not selling them, you're showing them the truth, and it wakes them up. I said, I don't know the real numbers, but I know based on research I've heard before, in your area, ear, nose, and throat, there are very high number of lawsuits that occur because it's a very extreme specialty, an important specialty. He said, oh, that's really true. I said, then instead of going and say, would you give me a referral like a beggar, perhaps what you should do is find a way to add value with a core story. What if you put together a little ebook that you could send all the practitioners, general practitioners around the area, or whatever are the right doctors for your market, and the title of the ebook, and you send a little email saying, listen, I've seen so many challenges happen. I'm an expert in this area, and there's so many doctors that are getting sued today. And so I put a little booklet just for you and your staff that's the 3 biggest mistakes that lead to lawsuits for general practitioners, and the 2 solutions that can eliminate or solve this challenge. I'm forgetting the exact title, but that was the essence of it. It was like a simple number, like 3 or 4 that lead to lawsuits, mistakes you must avoid, and here's the solutions that can bulletproof you. Well, guess how many doctors wanted to see that and wanted their staff to read that? And it's got that doctor's element. And in the story, he tells the statistics, he tells why, he tells what's happened, and he tells how to protect it. He did the research, our team helped him. But then in addition to that, he said, most valuable things you can do is develop a relationship with someone who's a total professional who follows these 6 criteria that'll bulletproof you. And he lists the things that you do to make sure you've covered all of your bases properly so a lawsuit would not have any validity. And how much added value do you think that was for these doctors? Enormous. Short little mini little booklet. Guess what? Word of mouth was incredible. Other doctors sent it to other doctors, so it had a viral aspect to it. He's the expert. And then he followed up afterwards and said, did you get my book? Did you read it? I just want to make sure you don't get any challenges. And if I can serve you in any other way, I'd love it if you'd refer business to me. He started to get business coming to him like crazy from people because this is the expert. He's the guy that knows. He's showing me what to avoid. He's showing me how to succeed. But even better than that, he was smart. He measured the results, And when somebody started to drop down from 10 referrals to 5 or 6, he called them and say, listen, is there anything I can do to support you? Because I've noticed I want to make sure we keep you bulletproofed. And has your staff reviewed my document? And did you know? And he'd have 2 or 3 more things to offer them. So he didn't have to have this giant marketing campaign. He had to have value-added marketing. His marketing added value to his core client, which was doctors. And when he added the value enormously, he also then made a request that was to their advantage and to his advantage. Doesn't cost you a bunch of money, just takes some creativity. And again, we do this for companies, we do this in our business mastery program, we do it in consulting, but you can do it for yourself. What would be your core story? I mean, why compete with everybody else? One last example. Why compete with everybody else and do something like, if you open a newspaper in a week, if you still open a paper newspaper, which most of us don't, but if you see one, or you open a magazine, you see the ad, or you see a TV ad and it goes, it's a company that sells exercise equipment and it goes, treadmills, treadmills, treadmills. You know, we got the best sale, we got a sale on treadmills. Get out this weekend and come see our sale on treadmills. Well, who's gonna buy that? Somebody's looking for a treadmill, which is probably 1 to 3% of the population max at any moment in time. But if you're at it on a radio or somewhere else would say, did you know, hi, it's so-and-so from so-and-so Sporting. Did you know that there is one exercise that is guaranteed, according to the Journal of American Medical Association, to reduce your possibilities of diabetes, of stroke, heart disease, and cancer by more than 50%, and that this particular exercise takes less than 30 minutes, and we're the experts in it? If you're interested in knowing this and knowing 4 other things you can do that take next to no time to increase your energy and your vitality and your health, call us now or give us your email. And guess what? Now you got hundreds, in some cases thousands of people calling in because you're doing something that adds value to them versus what everybody else is doing, sale, sale, sale. Marketing today requires you don't just get people's attention. You can do that with some money. It requires you become an expert. It requires you find a way to add value to your clients. If you can become an expert that gives people things that really serve them, then those people are going to, first of all, begin to trust you, respect you, perhaps like you, and want to do business with you. That's the core of what we got to do today. Everything today is, instead of spending a bunch of money out there, spend the money to find the answers, to deliver for the core people you want to serve. And if you serve them enough, some people just take and take and take, but some people will come back and say, I want more, I need more. Gosh, if I'm going to spend my money with somebody, if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest with this company that truly knows what I need, who truly has insights, and I want to operate that way. Become a value-added marketer, VAM, V-A-M. Know what your X factor is. So today's assignment, really simple. What is your X factor? Just jot it down. What do you think you do better for other people than anybody else is doing in the marketplace? What is it that you do that truly people say, that's why I want to do business with that company versus anybody else? And if you don't know what it is, decide what it's going to be. Get your team together and figure out how you're going to create that added value. But you need to have something at your core. And then 2, what could be your core story? What's the story of what you do and why you do it? And what makes you unique that you could pre-frame, you could share with people. Your salespeople could share it, the story could be told online, it could be in your marketing materials, so that people start to see, this is why I should do business with this company versus someone else. X factor and core story, trying to explain those 2 things, which are worth 3 or 4 hours of actually digging in with you interactively, just trying to stimulate your brain, because marketing wins, baby. And if you're going to be a great marketer today and not just spend the dollars and blast everything, I don't even know that that really truly works at the same level anymore. I think you've got to really add the value, and I hope this session triggers you to do so. So figure out what your X factor is, start designing your core story. I hope to see you soon. Till then, live strong, live with passion, love your clients, love your business. See you then.